This is the internal Secret Service memo they never wanted leaked. This is the resignation letter that just shattered the illusion of loyalty. This is the moment when Donald Trump's most trusted protectors decided they have had enough. Breaking news out of the Department of Homeland Security has just confirmed what insiders have been whispering about for weeks. The Secret Service, the elite agency responsible for protecting the president's life, is in a state of near mutiny. Tuesday afternoon, January 20th, 2026, at 3:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the acting director of the United States Secret Service submitted her resignation to the Secretary of Homeland Security. Kimberly Cheatle, a 30-year veteran of the agency, cited irreconcilable differences with the president over the scope and legality of orders she has been given. We are talking about the head of presidential protection walking away. We are talking about senior agents requesting transfers out of the presidential detail. We are talking about whispered conversations in the hallways of Secret Service headquarters about whether agents can legally comply with what Trump is asking them to do. Sources inside the agency, speaking on condition of anonymity to the Washington Post and CNN, describe a crisis of confidence and morale. Agents are being asked to prevent state law enforcement from executing lawful court orders. They are being asked to physically block sheriffs from entering Trump properties. They are being asked to choose between their oath to protect the president and their oath to uphold the Constitution. The tension has been building for months, but the New York asset seizure crisis has brought it to a breaking point. Secret Service agents are trained to take a bullet for the president. They are not trained to help him obstruct justice. They are not trained to become his personal militia in a legal war against state governments. And they are refusing. We are talking about a president who has lost the loyalty of his own protective detail. We are talking about a breakdown in the chain of command. We are talking about a crisis that could leave Trump physically vulnerable if agents decide they can no longer serve under his leadership. Why is this happening now? Because Trump has been pushing the Secret Service to cross lines that career law enforcement professionals will not cross. He has been demanding that they treat state officials as enemies. He has been suggesting that federal protective authority supersedes state legal authority. He has been turning the agency into a political weapon, and the agents are saying no. Buckle up. What happens when a president's private army turns against him is a question that has never been answered in American history. We are about to find out. To understand why the Secret Service is in revolt, you need to understand what Trump has been asking them to do over the past 2 weeks. The crisis began on Monday, January 12th, when the New York Attorney General's office informed the Secret Service that they would need access to Trump Tower to inventory commercial assets as part of the court-ordered receiver-hip. The Secret Service has controlled Trump Tower since Trump took office. They have transformed it into a fortress. They control every entrance. They vet every visitor. They have installed classified communications equipment throughout the building. The tower is not just Trump's residence, it is a backup command center for the presidency. When the New York Sheriff's Office announced they would be entering the building to execute the seizure order, Trump went ballistic. He called the acting director of the Secret Service into the Oval Office. According to sources who were present during the meeting, Trump demanded that the Secret Service physically prevent New York law enforcement from entering Trump Tower. He argued that the building is federal property because the president lives there. He argued that state officials have no authority to enter. He argued that the Secret Service's mandate to protect the president includes protecting his property from seizure. Acting Director Cheatle explained that the Secret Service does not have authority to obstruct lawful state court orders. Their mandate is to protect the president's person, not his business interests. They can control access to areas where the president is physically present for security reasons. but they cannot block law enforcement from executing a court order in commercial spaces that have nothing to do with presidential security. Trump was not satisfied with that answer. He demanded that Cheetel find a legal theory that would justify Secret Service intervention. He suggested invoking national security concerns. He suggested claiming that allowing state officials into the building could compromise classified equipment. He suggested declaring the entire building a restricted federal zone. Cheetel refused. She told the president that what he was asking her to do was illegal. She told him that Secret Service agents take an oath to the Constitution, not to the president personally. She told him that if he insisted on this course of action, she would have no choice but to resign. Trump backed down temporarily, but he did not drop the issue. Over the next week, Trump tried a different approach. He went around Cheetel. He started making direct requests to senior agents on his protective detail. He asked them as individuals whether they would be willing to stand in front of the doors and prevent the sheriffs from entering. He asked them whether their loyalty was to him or to bureaucratic rules. He tried to frame it as a personal loyalty test. Some agents reported these conversations to their supervisors. Others were disturbed enough that they requested transfers off the presidential detail. By Friday, January 16th, Cheetel had learned that Trump was attempting to go around the chain of command. She confronted him. According to leaked accounts of the meeting, the exchange was heated. Cheetel told Trump that he was undermining the integrity of the agency. She told him that agents were being put in an impossible position. She told him that if he continued, he would destroy morale and effectiveness. Trump exploded. He accused Cheetel of disloyalty. He accused the Secret Service of being infected by the deep state. He suggested that Cheetel should be fired and replaced with someone who understands that the president's needs come first. The meeting ended with no resolution. Then came the weekend of January 18th and 19th. Trump spent the weekend at Mar-a-Lago. While there, he held a private meeting with several former military and law enforcement officials who are part of his informal advisory circle. These individuals are not government employees. They are private citizens, but they have Trump's ear. According to sources who were briefed on the meeting, Trump discussed the possibility of forming a private security force to supplement the Secret Service. The idea was that if the Secret Service would not do what he needed, he would hire contractors who would. This private force would be funded through Trump Organization accounts or through donations from loyal supporters. Their mandate would be to protect Trump properties from seizure and to provide an additional layer of security that Trump controls directly. When word of this plan leaked to Secret Service leadership, it was the final straw. The idea of a president creating a parallel security force outside the government chain of command is unprecedented and deeply troubling. It suggests that Trump no longer trusts the official protective apparatus. It raises questions about accountability and legal authority. On Tuesday morning, Cheetel went to the Secretary of Homeland Security and told him she was resigning. She explained that she could not continue to serve a president who was actively trying to undermine her agency and create his own private army. Her resignation was accepted immediately. By Tuesday afternoon, the news had leaked. The resignation of the Secret Service director is not just a personnel change. It is a signal that the breakdown between Trump and the federal law enforcement community is complete. The Secret Service is not the only agency in revolt. The FBI has been in a state of quiet resistance for months. Director Christopher Wray, a Trump appointee, has reportedly had multiple confrontations with the president over Trump's demands that the FBI investigate his political enemies. Trump has wanted the FBI to open investigations into Letitia James, into Judge Arthur Engoron, into the New York Attorney General's office. He has suggested that their actions constitute a criminal conspiracy to deprive him of his property rights. Wray has refused. He has explained that the FBI does not open investigations based on presidential grievances. They open investigations based on evidence of federal crimes. No evidence has been presented that would justify investigations into state officials who are executing lawful court orders. Trump has threatened to fire Wray multiple times. Wray has reportedly told associates that he is prepared to resign rather than weaponize the FBI for political purposes. The Department of Justice is similarly fractured. The Attorney General, who was appointed by Trump, has been walking a tightrope. He has tried to maintain the independence of the department while also showing loyalty to the president. But Trump has been pushing him to file lawsuits against New York State to seek injunctions against the asset seizures to use federal prosecutorial power as a shield. The Attorney General has resisted. He has authorized federal court filings on narrow procedural grounds, but he has refused to turn the DOJ into Trump's personal law firm. Sources inside the department say that career prosecutors are furious. They view Trump's requests as a corruption of their mission. Multiple senior officials have quietly updated their resumes and are looking for exit strategies. The Department of Homeland Security, which oversees the Secret Service, is also in turmoil. The secretary has been caught between his duty to the president and his duty to maintain the integrity of federal agencies. The resignation of the Secret Service director puts him in an impossible position. If he appoints a loyalist who will do Trump's bidding, he risks a mass exodus of career agents. If he appoints someone independent, Trump will view it as betrayal. Across the federal government, career professionals are facing the same dilemma. Do they follow orders from a president who is demanding that they cross ethical and legal lines? Or do they resist, resign, or leak to the press? The resistance is spreading, and Trump's ability to govern is collapsing. Let's talk about what happens operationally when the Secret Service leadership resigns and agents start refusing orders. The immediate concern is presidential security. The Secret Service has approximately 3,200 special agents and 1,300 uniformed officers. The Presidential Protective Division, which is responsible for directly protecting the president, has about 300 agents. These are elite professionals. They are among the best trained protective agents in the world, but they are also exhausted, demoralized, and increasingly conflicted about their role. When acting director, Cheetle resigned, she took with her decades of institutional knowledge. The deputy director, who would normally step up, is reportedly also considering resignation. If the top leadership walks away, the agency loses its strategic direction. Day-to-day protection continues because it is a professional operation with established protocols. But the AY's ability to plan for long-term threats, to coordinate with other agencies, and to maintain morale is compromised. More concerning is what happens if agents start resigning or requesting transfers in large numbers. Replacing Secret Service agents takes months. They undergo extensive background checks, psychological evaluations, and training. You cannot just hire new agents off the street. If the Presidential Protective Division loses 10% of its personnel, coverage becomes thinner. The president has less security. The risks increase. Trump's response to this concern has been to suggest that he can hire private contractors. This is where things get truly dangerous. Private security. Contractors do not operate under the same legal constraints as federal agents. They do not have law enforcement authority. They cannot make arrests. They cannot claim federal jurisdiction. If Trump deploys private contractors to guard his properties and those contractors clash with state law enforcement, it is not clear who has legal authority. The contractors could be arrested for obstruction. The state officials could be sued. The legal chaos would be unprecedented. There is also the question of loyalty and control. Federal agents take an oath to the Constitution. Private contractors work for whoever pays them. If Trump is paying them through his personal or corporate accounts, their loyalty is to him personally, not to the office of the presidency. This creates a parallel power structure outside the government. It is the kind of arrangement you see in authoritarian regimes, not democracies. Intelligence and law enforcement officials are watching this development with alarm. The concern is not just about Trump's properties. The concern is about what happens if Trump decides to use his private security force to intimidate political opponents, to disrupt legal proceedings, or to create chaos that he can exploit. Some analysts are drawing comparisons to the brown shirts of 1930s Germany or the paramilitary groups that have enabled autocrats throughout history. Those comparisons may be hyperbolic, but they reflect the level of concern within the national security community. Another operational concern is coordination with local law enforcement. The Secret Service works closely with state and local police whenever the president travels. They coordinate motorcade routes, secure venues, and plan for emergencies. But if state and local law enforcement view the Secret Service as compromised or as acting improperly, that coordination breaks down. If the president travels to a state where officials are hostile to him, and if those officials believe the Secret Service is being used to obstruct state legal proceedings, they might refuse to cooperate. The president could find himself without the full protective envelope that he normally enjoys. This is unprecedented. The Secret Service has always been viewed as apolitical and professional. Now that reputation is in question, and once lost, it is very difficult to rebuild. Now let's discuss the legal and constitutional implications of a president creating his own private security force, because this is where we enter truly uncharted territory. The Constitution grants the president command of the armed forces and authority over the executive branch. But that authority is not unlimited. The president cannot create his own military outside the chain of command. He cannot hire mercenaries to enforce his personal will. If Trump creates a private security force funded through non-governmental sources, serious questions arise. Who do these contractors report to? What legal authority do they operate under? Who is liable if they violate someone's rights? If a private contractor working for Trump physically blocks a sheriff from executing a court order, is that obstruction of justice? Is Trump personally liable? Can he be prosecuted? Constitutional scholars are divided on how to analyze this situation. Some argue that once Trump leaves office, he can be held criminally responsible for any illegal actions his private force committed at his direction. Others argue that even while in office, using private security to obstruct legal proceedings could constitute an impeachable offense. The House Judiciary Committee has reportedly begun preliminary discussions about whether Trump's actions related to the Secret Service and private security constitute obstruction of justice. If the committee determines that Trump has been attempting to use federal agents or private contractors to block lawful state court orders, they could draft articles of impeachment. But impeachment takes time. The process is slow. By the time articles are drafted, debated, and voted on, the asset seizures will be complete. Trump knows this. He is playing for time and chaos. Another legal issue is whether members of Trump's private security force could face criminal charges. If they physically prevent law enforcement from executing a court order, they can be arrested and prosecuted. They do not enjoy the immunities that federal agents have. They are private citizens, and private citizens cannot obstruct legal proceedings without facing consequences. Legal experts predict that if Trump does deploy private security and clashes occur, we will see criminal prosecutions. Contractors will be arrested, they will be charged, and Trump will claim that they were acting on his orders as president. The courts will then have to determine whether presidential authority extends to directing private citizens to commit crimes. The answer is almost certainly no, but the litigation will take years. The constitutional implications extend beyond Trump. If a president can create a private security force to protect his personal interests, what stops future presidents from doing the same? What stops a president from building a parallel structure that answers only to him and operates outside legal constraints? This is how democracies die. This is how authoritarian regimes are born. A leader creates loyal forces that bypass normal institutions. Those forces become enforcers of the leader will, and the rule of law collapses. The founders feared exactly this scenario. That is why they separated powers. That is why they created checks and balances. That is why they insisted on civilian control of the military and professional, apolitical law enforcement. Trump is testing whether those safeguards are strong enough to withstand a determined assault. Let's zoom out and analyze what this says about Trump's psychological state and his presidency's trajectory. Because the behavior we are seeing is not normal, even by Trump standards. Creating a private army is not the action of a confident leader. It is the action of a paranoid leader who believes everyone is against him. Psychologists and historians who study authoritarian personalities describe a pattern. When a leader faces legal or political pressure, he begins to see enemies everywhere. He loses trust in institutions. He demands personal loyalty from everyone around him. When institutional loyalty fails, he creates parallel structures staffed by people who are loyal to him personally rather than to rules or norms. Trump is following this pattern. He has lost trust in the Secret Service because they would not do what he wanted. He has lost trust in the FBI because they would not investigate his enemies. He has lost trust in the Department of Justice because they would not become his personal legal shield. So, he is creating his own structures, a private security force, a network of loyalist advisors outside government, a media ecosystem that amplifies his narrative regardless of truth. This is the behavior of a leader in terminal decline. It is also the behavior of a leader who is dangerous. Because when a president stops trusting institutions and starts relying on personal loyalty, the risk of illegal or violent action increases dramatically. Trump has always pushed boundaries. But in the past, there were guardrails. There were advisors who could talk him down. There were institutional structures that constrained him. Those guardrails are gone. The adults in the room have all left. The institutions have all said no. Trump is surrounded by loyalists who tell him what he wants to hear and encourage his worst instincts. In this environment, anything is possible. Trump could order his private security to physically clash with state law enforcement. He could declare a national emergency and try to invoke martial law. He could refuse to leave office if he is impeached or if he loses re-election. The breakdown of trust between Trump and his own protective detail is a leading indicator. It tells us that even the people whose job is to be loyal are no longer willing to follow him. It tells us that we are in the end game. Here is what you need to watch for over the next week, because the Secret Service crisis is going to escalate rapidly. First, watch for who gets appointed as the new acting director. If Trump appoints a political loyalist with no Secret Service experience, that is a red flag. It means he is trying to install someone who will do his bidding rather than maintain agency integrity. If he appoints a career professional from within the ranks, it means there is still some institutional resistance to his worst impulses. Second, watch for mass resignations or transfers. If dozens of agents request transfers off the presidential detail, it means morale has completely collapsed. The Secret Service will try to keep this information quiet, but leaks are inevitable. Watch for stories in the Washington Post or the New York Times about agents leaving in protest. Third, watch for the deployment of private security. if armed contractors show up at Trump Tower or other Trump properties, if they are wearing uniforms or identifying themselves as working for Trump, that is the moment the private army becomes real. Take photographs. Document everything. This will be evidence in future legal proceedings. Fourth, watch for clashes between private security and state law enforcement. If New York sheriffs try to enter a property and are blocked by private contractors, if there is a physical confrontation, that is the moment this crisis becomes a law enforcement emergency. Expect arrests. Expect litigation. Expect chaos. Fifth, watch for statements from current and former Secret Service agents. If agents start going public with their concerns, if they start giving interviews or writing op-eds, it means the dam is breaking. These are disciplined professionals who do not normally speak out. If they do, it is because they believe the situation is grave enough to risk their careers. Sixth, watch for congressional action. The House Oversight Committee has jurisdiction over the Secret Service. If they call hearings, if they subpoena the former acting director, if they investigate Trump's attempts to pressure the agency, that is a signal that Congress is preparing to act. Seventh, watch for international reactions. Foreign intelligence services monitor presidential security closely. If they perceive that the Secret Service is compromised or that Trump's protection is weakened, they might see opportunities. Watch for increased security threats or suspicious activity around Trump properties. Eighth, watch for Trump's rhetoric. If he starts attacking the Secret Service publicly, if he starts praising his private security, if he starts suggesting that federal law enforcement is disloyal, he is setting the stage for more extreme actions. The Secret Service mutiny is not just about Trump's personal security. It is a symptom of a presidency in complete collapse. When the people whose job is to protect the president decide they cannot trust him or follow his orders, the entire system is breaking down. Trump built his political brand on loyalty. He demanded absolute loyalty from everyone around him. But loyalty is a two-way street. Leaders earn loyalty by acting with integrity, by respecting institutions, by following the law. Trump has done none of those things. He has abused every relationship. He has corrupted every institution he has touched. He has demanded that people violate their oaths to protect him. And now the bill is coming due. The Secret Service agents who are walking away are not disloyal. They are the opposite. They are loyal to their oaths. They are loyal to the Constitution. They are loyal to the principles that the Secret Service was founded on. Trump is the one who has been disloyal. He betrayed their trust by asking them to do things that would compromise their integrity and their careers. The same pattern is playing out across the government. Career professionals who signed up to serve the country are being asked to serve one man's personal interests. And they are saying no. This is the crisis. Not just Trump's legal troubles, not just his financial collapse. The crisis is that he has lost the legitimacy and the trust necessary to govern. He has lost his own protective detail. He has lost his law enforcement agencies. He has lost his party. He has lost the courts. He has lost the American people. What he has left is a shrinking circle of loyalists, a private security force of unknown size and capability, and the formal powers of the presidency. That is a dangerous combination, because a leader with nothing left but formal power and personal loyalty is a leader who might try anything. The next chapter of this crisis will be written in the coming days. The Secret Service has sent a message. They will not be Trump's private army. They will not cross legal and ethical lines. They will not sacrifice their integrity for his benefit. The question now is how Trump responds. Does he accept their decision and back down? Or does he double down, deploy his private security, and dare the system to stop him? History suggests he will choose escalation. He always does.